My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am 38 years old, and until today, I thought I knew my family. The morning air clung heavily around me, matching the chill that engulfed my heart. The sun poured weakly through the kitchen window, illuminating specks of dust dancing in the stale air, remnants of a life that felt frozen in time. I stood at the counter, the familiar warmth of the coffee pot, a stark contrast to the icy reality unfolding just a few feet away. Jack sat at the dining table, his back to me, his voice low and conspiratorial, a sound I had once found comforting but now felt utterly foreign. The casual authority with which he spoke twisted into a sneer that coiled around me like a serpent. "We can cut her out without a second thought." "Lisa," he said, arrogance dripping from his words. "She's been nothing but a burden, always playing the martyr. Time for us to take what's rightfully ours." I froze, my fingers gripping the coffee pot tightly, feeling the heat bleed into my palm. Lisa's laugh floated across the room, a mockery of sisterhood that stung more than I could bear. "Honestly, Jack, she thinks she deserves more." "It's unbelievable. I mean, who would ever miss her involvement? Let's be real, she's forgotten her role. We'll just push her to the side like she meant nothing." Every word was like a strike, each mocking inflection a reminder of the love and loyalty I foolishly thought we shared. Memories flooded back, how I had sacrificed my career aspirations, putting Jack's ambitions and our children's futures above my own. I had built my life around supporting them, smoothing out their rough edges while letting my own dreams gather dust. The stark lines of the room felt suddenly confining as I processed their betrayal. My heart raced, a hollow thud echoing in my ears. I thought about the hours spent at the kitchen table helping our children with homework, the sleepless nights comforting them through illness, and the way I always smiled through my exhaustion, believing it was a small price to pay for a family united in love. Now, standing in my own home, I felt like a ghost, seen but not acknowledged, valued but only in my ability to serve. The weight of their laughter hung in the air like a thick fog, suffocating and oppressive. I took a shaky breath, trying to collect myself, reminding myself of my worth, however diminished it seemed in that moment. Jack was right about one thing. I hadn't fought for myself. The thought filled me with both shame and a flicker of defiance. Maybe today would be different. Today, I would reclaim my voice, even if I had to do it quietly. I struggled to hold back tears, the realization of their true colors painting a vivid picture in my mind. As their conversation continued, I felt an overwhelming chill settle over my shoulders. I glanced down at my reflection in the polished surface of the countertop and saw not a defeated woman, but a weary warrior. They had painted me as weak, but I had fought battles silently for years. I was tired, yes, but I was also resilient. They thought they had left me with nothing. That phrase echoed in my mind like a quiet promise, a spark igniting a flame deep within me. I refused to be their victim. I stepped back from the counter, heart racing, as I considered my next move. I lingered for a moment longer, absorbing every mocking word, every fateful laugh. With each passing moment, resentment brewed like a pot on the edge of boiling over. No, I wouldn't confront them now. I would bide my time, let them think they had the upper hand. The bitterness of betrayal would be the fuel I needed to ignite a fire strong enough to reshape my destiny. In that stillness, amidst the pain of their betrayal, I felt an undercurrent of strength wrapping around me. Perhaps this was the moment I needed to pivot, to swing the pendulum in my favor. I turned away from the doorway, determination flipping the script from victim to strategist. And as their laughter faded into the background, I remembered the promise I made myself long ago. I would fight for my dignity, no matter the cost. Should I continue with Section 2? Exile and Memories. The days that followed felt like a sad, sepia-toned movie, scrolling endlessly through the ache of my new reality. I moved through my life like a ghost haunting familiar spaces, increasingly invisible, a faint whisper in my own home. Each time I interacted with Jack or Lisa, their cold indifference froze the warmth of my past memories. This estrangement was new, a chilling contrast to the life we once shared. Gradually, I found myself retreating into a small, makeshift room. a temporary refuge filled with the remnants of my former life. This small space, barely adequate in size, served as a painful reminder of my isolation. Faded photographs of our happier days adorned the walls, snapshots of moments I had cherished deeply. I recalled spending those idyllic family days at the beach, crafting memories filled with laughter, love, and hope. I prized those times like precious gems, moments I now clung to for comfort amidst the storm of betrayal. Yet the more I reminisced, the more the bitter tang of disappointment seeped in. I had focused on Jack's career so intently, sacrificing pieces of my own self in exchange for family unity. I had left behind promotions, adventurous travels, and friendships I had nurtured through the years. I thought that in building our life together, I was sowing seeds of love and commitment. But what had it blossomed into? A garden of thorns disguised as a family. Now standing in my own home, I felt like a ghost, seen but ignored, valued only for my capacity to serve. The sound of Jack's and Lisa's laughter became a mocking serenade, a heartbreaking reminder of the love I believed we shared. I felt trapped in a surreal reality where every joyful echo contrasted painfully with the darkness creeping into my heart. Flashbacks of telling my colleagues about the promotion I turned down to support Jack's career filtered through my mind. I remembered my exhilaration as I envisioned a bright future for him while burying my own aspirations. I had forged my identity around being their support, convinced that it was noble to set aside my dreams for their benefit. I thought this would yield love and respect in return. But as my thoughts spiraled, I recalled moments that now felt like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle coming together. A collection of subtle jabs and passive-aggressive remarks that had hurt more than I recognized at the time. "Sweetheart, can you just focus on the kids for once? We know you love to plan, but this dinner is really important," Jack would say, dismissing any notion I had of sharing my visions. Lisa would smirk, her eyes gleaming with passive disdain. "Oh, please, Sarah, it's not like your input is vital. Jack knows what he's doing." Those moments had chipped away at my confidence, and now I saw them for what they truly were: attempts to undermine my worth, veiled insults disguised as advice. Yet, more than bitterness and regret, I felt an undercurrent of shame begin to lift. I had let them underestimate me for far too long. While they basked in their false sense of superiority, I quietly started reclaiming the remnants of my broken spirit. The small room, my refuge, eventually became the birthplace of newfound strength. I sat cross-legged on the creaky floor, surrounded by the ghosts of the past, and began to document everything that I could remember: conversations, transactions, and interactions gathered like threads of an elaborate tapestry. Each note tied me back to the truth, pulling me closer to clarity. With every glance at the faded photographs, my resolve grew. Those photographs framed not only the happiest moments, but also the pathways to my own resilience. As each day passed, I began to dig deeper into my memories, recalling insignificant details, like the time Jack had deliberately mismanaged our finances, convincing me to allocate funds for his desires while forgetting my own. Such recollections stoked the fires of my determination. In my solitude, I ran through my thoughts like a checklist, mapping out the next steps. My heart, once heavy with grief, began to flutter with hope. I decided to reconnect with distant family members whom I had overlooked in the haze of marriage obligations and child-rearing chaos. Perhaps they could provide insight or lend their support when the moment came for me to stand my ground. Encouraged by this possibility, I began searching for a family lawyer I had met years ago, a figure who had once guided us through mundane complications. I remembered him as kind and wise, someone who kept his clients' best interests at heart. After a few blinks of uncertainty, the decision crystallized. I would reach out and see if he could help me navigate the treacherous waters I now found myself in. One evening, with trembling hands and a steely heart, I made the call. As the phone rang, a mix of apprehension and exhilaration coursed through my veins. The lawyer remembered me and agreed to meet, sparking a flicker of excitement, as if a door to possibility had suddenly swung open. I weighed my words carefully, crafting a narrative that felt true to my experiences while restraining my emotions. After hanging up, I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, envisioning a future where I no longer lived in someone else's shadow. I could see it, bright, expansive, and full of potential. I imagined walking down paths previously deemed impossible, surrounded by the warmth of understanding from friends and family who truly valued me. Those thoughts buzzed around my mind like fireflies, illuminating the darkness, illuminating the path forward. I mentally drafted the conversations I would have with the lawyer, preparing myself for an empowering exchange. No more shadows entrapping me. I envisioned a life where I reclaimed my voice, where I walked unburdened and free. Determination filled the air around me now, a renewed sense of resolve that felt like armor against Jack's casual cruelty. I would no longer allow myself to be diminished by their contempt. As I reflected on the future I desired, I whispered aloud to myself, "They thought they had left me with nothing, but the truth was my greatest inheritance." The words felt powerful, wrapping around me like a shield against the inevitable confrontations to come. I was ready. Change was coming. I could feel it in my bones. Should I continue with Section 3, the secret discovery? The meeting with the lawyer arrived like a long-awaited storm, its promise of change electrifying the air around me. I stepped into his office, my heart racing and my palms sweaty. It was a modest space, filled with bookshelves crammed with legal tomes and framed certificates of accomplishment lining the walls. Morning light streamed through the windows, casting warmth that felt foreign but inviting against the bitter chill of my recent past. "Sarah, it's been a while," he greeted, a smile brightening his face as he extended his hand. The gesture felt genuine, and for a moment, I felt seen. The weight of my burdens, the despair of living in the shadows, began to dissipate under the glow of his understanding. I sat across from him, and for the first time in so long, I opened my mouth to speak my truth. As I recounted the recent upheaval of my life, the emotional chokehold of my marriage, the lawyer listened intently, nodding along with every word I shared. I felt the layers of pretense I had draped around myself start to peel away, revealing my authentic self, raw and yearning for liberation. With every detail I revealed, the storytelling became an act of catharsis, launching me toward the dignified person I yearned to be. "That sounds incredibly tough, Sarah," he said gently, his voice steady, full of compassion. "You deserve to find clarity. Let's explore your options." On his desk rested a folder containing documents I hadn't thought about in years, titles, insurance policies, even tax statements that illustrated not only my financial involvement, but also intricacies of our shared life. As he flipped through the pages, the contents ignited flashes of memories, both jubilant and painful. My chest tightened, and a sudden heat surged through my veins. These records were pieces of evidence in a complex puzzle. As the lawyer explained my rights, he guided me through the myriad layers of our finances. He turned to me. "Do you know how Jack has been managing the family finances?" A flood of realization roared to life as I shook my head. "Not really, only what I can see. I trust him to handle our money. He's always been the one to oversee it," I replied. The words felt heavy, dampened by the knowledge that I had relinquished control, letting someone else pilot our ship. But now, inspired by the potential of reclaiming agency, I leaned in closer to the conversation's unfolding layers, eager to gather as much as I could. It's essential, then, that we closely examine everything: bank statements, investments, even the assets that might not seem straightforward. His fingers danced over the pages as he tapped into my newfound urgency. "This will be the foundation of understanding your situation completely." As we continued to discuss list after list of assets, something deep inside began to stir. I took a moment to reflect on everything I had thought were simple affairs: the house, the car, the insurance. The initial narrative of a blessed life began to crack and splinter, revealing how those blessings contained undefined burdens I had carried without questioning. The weight of my dedication loomed over me like a dark cloud, hiding truths I had turned a blind eye to. Then, with a speculative glint in his eye, he said, I believe we can uncover more than you think. Let's dig deeper into the financial history of your household. Have you ever considered there may be hidden income or investments not disclosed to you? My heart raced, the mere suggestion igniting flames of perception. Hidden income? I echoed, unsure of what to think. You mean like what? Any untapped resources, savings accounts, business dealings, perhaps even debts or unusual expenses? The life you may not have seen because of the communication blockade, he explained with urgency. I believe these could be pivotal in understanding the true picture of your life. The notion sent shivers down my spine, each realization pioneering a desire for truth. I understood now that by finally confronting the complexities of our financial life, I could reveal the bricks of deceit Jack had laid without any scrutiny. Over the following weeks, our meetings transformed into a ritual of reclamation. I dove wholeheartedly into the maze of documentation, laboring over bank statements, sifting through receipts and paperwork meticulously collected from the recesses of our shared life. The pieces began to reveal layers of a labyrinthine existence. We uncovered an array of secrets buried within. Jack had maintained several account layers, hidden transactions stemming from side projects I had never known about or approved. As I pieced it all together, anger simmered beneath my skin. Had he not thought I'd care? Did he truly believe I'd remain ignorant forever? Sarah, what you're doing is radical and it's powerful, the lawyer reassured me as I voiced my frustrations during one of our sessions. The truth is potent. It'll arm you in a way you never thought possible. He explained the exploration further, how certain assets became essential in family law. I understood this wasn't merely about financial gain. It was about restoring my dignity, reclaiming my voice, and reestablishing my identity. The initial feelings of hopelessness slowly evolved into empowerment, a promise that pulsed through my veins. After countless hours sifting through drawers and cabinets, a simple envelope captured my attention, its edges worn, the seal faded from years of neglect. The texture felt familiar, and as I opened it, a deep breath escaped my lips. Inside, I found a letter written by my late grandmother, words filled with pride for the life she had lived, moments wrapped in strength, tales of resilience as she fought through her struggles. Her final words nestled gently into my heart, encouraging me never to doubt my worth. Always remember who you are, Sarah. Your voice is your strength. Use it, it read. Tears blurred my vision as I absorbed the weight of her wisdom. The letter resonated deep within me, intertwining with my newfound resolve, and reminded me of the strength I had inherited from a lineage of strong women. I clutched the letter tightly, channeling my grandmother's spirit, sensing her steadfast love embrace me as I moved toward my confrontation. This letter became my talisman, a reminder of who I was, the empowered daughter of a woman who had faced tempestuous storms with grace. Holding it close, I resolved to unleash that bubbling voice long silenced by Jack's manipulation and Lisa's taunts. After several weeks of investigation and revelation, I continued gathering evidence. I unearthed unfathomable secrets hidden beneath my nose, and far beyond mere financial indiscretions, I began to weave a meticulous narrative, a tapestry of truths that would one day reveal itself like a brilliant sunrise rising above the horizon. I found within me the courage I had long buried. I braced myself, knowing that my moment was drawing closer, the moment I would confront Jack and Lisa, reclaiming my narrative, fighting for my dignity, armed with the truth. They thought they had left me with nothing, but the truth was my greatest inheritance. Should I continue with Section 4, Silent Investigation, as the sun crested the horizon, spilling light over my world? The reality of the situation began to crystallize into a plan. My heart thrummed with anticipation. The time for action was upon me. While every whisper of confidence urged me forward, I understood that strategy nestled firmly in silence. I would gather more than just evidence. I would become the architect of my own fate. I dove deeper into my research, my investigative spirit awake at every hour. With each document I unearthed, and with every subtle clue I discovered, I gained insights that would solidify my case. Day by day, I pieced together a puzzle that had haunted me for too long. An unexpected transaction here, a hidden investment there. Each revelation felt like a step closer to justice. I documented everything meticulously, staring at the screen for hours, sifting through account details, statements, and anything carrying Jack's fingerprints. It was a quiet competence that filled my time, a meticulous dance of observation and information gathering. I needed to understand not only the truths of our finances, but also recognize the patterns in Jack and Lisa's interactions, how they dismissed my thoughts, belittled my contributions, and feigned concern when it truly served their needs became the cornerstone of my mental map. In those moments alone, I envisioned my confrontation. I felt the rush of adrenaline course through me, a wave crashing against the shores of my fear. I practiced in the quiet of my small room, standing tall beneath the steady gaze of my late grandmother's portrait that hung on the wall. Speaking the words aloud felt like reclaiming part of my soul, a necessary step in facing the inevitable storm with poise. Jack, you built walls around me, but I see the truth now, and I will not be silenced, I declared to the empty room, my voice gaining strength with every repetition. But even in this newfound strength, a sliver of apprehension curled in the background of my mind. I needed to remain calm and collected, a strategist rather than a battleground warrior disrupting everything with a battle cry. Jack's and Lisa's daily routines continued unaffected by the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. As spring flowers bloomed in the garden, I adopted a different persona, one of the patient observer. I made mental notes of their conversations, the whispers of secrets that slipped through the walls. They often gathered with friends, their camaraderie booming through the house, while I remained a spectator, cloaked in sharp focus. Every laugh echoed like a challenge to me. Their disdain dripped casually from every word, yet I kept my composure, bearing witness to their mockery. In those evenings, I often found myself in the dim light of my room, replaying their interactions, wrestling with how to best deploy the truths I had collected. I began discreetly speaking with a few trusted friends about my tumultuous situation, seeking their perspectives on the relational dynamics within my household. Some offered valuable insights while others expressed disbelief, unwilling to see the fractures so plainly outlined before them. Conversations revealing the deeper undercurrents of manipulation resonated with me, each illuminating the veil of deceit that Jack and Lisa had so effortlessly woven. One friend, Diana, who had once shared coffee with me on Sunday mornings, encouraged me to document my experiences more personally. Write it all down, Sarah. The good, the bad, the ugly. It may open your eyes further to how toxic this situation truly is, she suggested with genuine concern. It was sound advice. I began to not only jot down my thoughts, but also weave them into a narrative that would arm me with clarity for our impending showdown. I recalled days spent in my grandmother's garden, her hands skillfully cultivating a space that flourished amid chaos. "Patience is a virtue, my dear," she used to say. It was as if her voice rang in my ears now, reminding me that the time for the bloom would come. Based on my observations, I began mapping potential strategies for the confrontation. First, I compiled a clear timeline of events, major financial decisions that had been made without my consent, all alongside the documentation of hidden assets. I could present facts that would not only fortify my position, but shake the foundation of their narrative to the core. As weeks turned into months, a sense of empowerment enveloped me like an old cloak, a cherished layer of resilience. It became easier to adopt the role of a silent investigator, observing the interactions of my tormentors, soaking in the undercurrents of their conversations like a sponge. I noticed subtle exchanges, where Jack would share a joke with Lisa, bonding in a way that felt disloyal and off-key. I mentally stocked these moments away, knowing full well they would serve as corroborating evidence when I was ready. One particularly tense evening, while Jack casually scrolled through his phone on the couch, I feigned interest in the latest television series. His laughter lilted through the air, buoyed by a shared joke with Lisa nearby while they exchanged knowing glances. I etched every detail into my mind, arms crossed over my chest, marking this imagery as a reminder. They were comfortable, and it angered me. but anger transformed. It became fuel, punctuated by the sharpness of my resolve. I promised myself that the investment of time and patience would culminate in revelation, proof of who they truly were behind closed doors. I held on tightly to the letter from my grandmother, her words a tether grounding me, reminding me of the inherent strength and clarity that had been bestowed to me. "Your voice is your strength," she had said. I repeated the mantra as I drifted off to sleep each night, feeling more empowered with each utterance. It became clear I would confront Jack and Lisa at the right time, when the truth burst through with an undeniable light, illuminating their shadows. I would reclaim my narrative, and they would no longer treat me like a mere footnote in the story of their lives. In the quiet of my mind, a sense of inevitable victory awaited me. They thought they had left me with nothing, but the truth was my greatest inheritance. Should I continue with Section 5? The Justice Plan. The day I resolved to take definitive action dawned solemnly, yet an electric anticipation thrummed in the air around me. I sat at my small kitchen table, where stacks of papers and notes illuminated my relentless pursuit for truth. Each document, each colorful sticky note encapsulated my findings, a growing testament to the betrayals I'd uncovered. I was no longer just a wife. I was the architect of my own justice. As afternoon sunlight spilled into the room, I made my way to meet my lawyer. I carried with me a sense of empowerment, unlike anything I had ever felt before. This time, I was armed with more than just fears. I had something tangible. My heart raced as I unfolded the evidence of deception before him, a careful collection that revealed Jack's true nature. "Sarah, you've done remarkably well," my lawyer remarked with a mix of admiration and seriousness coloring his tone. "This timeline will be crucial in illustrating your case to the court. We need to show clearly how Jack's actions have affected you and your children." His praise ignited a fire within me. I shared my intentions to confront Jack and Lisa openly, hoping that it would not escalate into chaos, but instead foster a meaningful dialogue about our lives as a family. "I want to address them calmly, to surface the facts I've gathered," I said, searching his eyes for affirmation. "I think that's a wise approach," he affirmed, nodding thoughtfully. "But prepare yourself for their likely reactions. Jack may respond with denial, and they will attempt to regain control of the narrative. Your credibility lies in the evidence you've collected." Feeling emboldened by his support, I left his office with shadows of confidence trailing behind me. I envisioned a confrontation where I could finally reclaim my voice. The words from my grandmother echoed like mantras inside my head, and I clutched her letter tightly, a talisman of resilience that reminded me of the strength I carried. Back home, I began drafting my script for the impending confrontation. My intention was to remain composed and objective, allowing the truth to take center stage rather than emotional outbursts. I meticulously crafted every sentence, envisioning Jack's face as I laid bare the weight of his deceit. "Jack, I know about the hidden accounts. I've seen the transactions." I practiced, imagining how this moment would unfold. "You cannot escape the truth any longer." To create the right atmosphere, I chose a Sunday evening for the confrontation, strategically planned to avoid the chaos of weekday distractions. As night descended, I felt my heart drum steadily, an exhilarating tension tightening my chest. The walls of the house were eerily quiet. I imagined what Jack would say, how he would respond to the avalanche of truth I was about to unleash. "Sarah, you seem awfully serious tonight," he remarked casually as he lounged supine on the couch, his phone carelessly scrolling through some social media. I suppressed a smile, feigning calm. "Just wanted to talk, clear the air between us." Just then, Lisa entered, her presence hanging heavily on the air. "Is everything all right, Sarah?" she asked, her tone veiling curiosity with faux concern. Instinctively, I knew this was the right moment to strike, and I steeled myself. "I think we need to discuss our finances," I said deliberately, the words rolling off my tongue like ice. "There are hidden accounts and missing funds." Jack's expression shifted from casual interest to immediate confusion and irritation. "What are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense." I held my ground. I'm not misinterpreting anything. The adrenaline surged through me as I started pulling out the documents I'd so carefully collected, laying them out on the coffee table, exposing our tangled web of dishonesty. Here are the statements. Look at these transactions. These are proof of your deceit. A heavy silence enveloped the room. Disbelief washed over their faces as I laid bare the evidence. Jack's countenance warped from shock to indignation, a tempest swirling within him. Lisa leaned forward, arms crossed, suddenly anxious. You must have misread something. This can't be what you think it is, she insisted, albeit with a quiver in her voice. This is exactly what it is, Lisa, I replied, steadfast. I detailed each discovery, every discrepancy that I had uncovered. You both thought I wouldn't notice, that I would remain silent, but I took the time to find the truth. Now I refuse to allow you to manipulate me any longer. Jack, reeling from the onslaught of revelations, took a step back. This isn't how you handle things, Sarah, he exclaimed, trying to regain some semblance of control. I realized then that this wasn't merely about confrontation, it was about reclaiming my narrative. No, Jack, it's time for you to listen. For too long I've been voiceless, but that changes from this moment forward. I'm not asking for permission anymore. As my words began to sink in, the dynamics in the room shifted. Shock and defensiveness battled inside Jack, while Lisa's anxiousness morphed into a rush of panic. The reality was now laid bare. Truths woven together into an undeniable tapestry. I felt a freedom building within me, unshackling the chains that had held my voice in submission. And in that moment, standing before the very people who had tried to undermine my reality, I saw a glimmer of empowerment reflected in their eyes. I was done being the overlooked wife. This was my stand. The outcome was yet unknown, but one truth loomed larger than any fear they could instill in me. I was armed with clarity, self-love, and undeniable proof of my worth. As I laid down the truth, I felt my grandmother's spirit enveloping me like a warm embrace, guiding me through the tumult of emotion. They thought they had left me with nothing, but the truth was my greatest inheritance. Should I continue with Section 6? Confrontation and downfall. The tension crackled in the air, heavier than the dim light overhead. I held my ground, heart racing as I faced Jack and Lisa, the reality of our situation settling like a thick fog between us. Their expressions oscillated between disbelief and anger, emotions firing like arrows aimed at me. Yet I remained unyielding, my resolve fortifying with each silent heartbeat. Sarah, you're being unreasonable, Jack snapped, his voice a sharp edge cutting through the charged atmosphere. You're taking things too far based on assumptions. Assumptions? I shot back, each word laced with steely conviction. These aren't assumptions, Jack. They are facts. Facts you can no longer deny. I gestured toward the scattered documents on the table, each one representing a chapter of dishonesty in our shared story. I know what you've done. The hidden accounts, the false representations. It's all right here. Jack's brow furrowed, grappling for words while Lisa glanced between us, fear simmering just beneath her anxious facade. You're destroying your family over this. We can work it out. You don't have to handle it this way, she implored with a tremor in her voice, her words dripping with false concern. Destroying my family, I echoed incredulously, anger rising. You both have already done that by creating a facade of trust and friendship. You think I didn't notice how you've bonded over my back? I watched as Jack clenched his fists, his body rigid with defensiveness, the truth apparent but unspoken between us. We were just trying to help you, Jack retorted, fumbling for a way to pivot the narrative, but his facade cracked further as I dug in deeper. Help? I didn't shy away. You have not helped me. You've plotted against me. Help would have meant inclusion, honesty, not betrayal and manipulation. The moment hung in the air, pulsing with intensity, the truth wrapping around us like an inescapable net. Frustration festered in Jack's eyes, and he raised his voice again. You're making a huge mistake. You're going to regret this. His anger flared, words spilling like venom, desperate to reestablish control. Regret? You've underestimated me, Jack. I'm not afraid of speaking out any longer. I won't be silenced by your intimidation. Each word dripped from my lips like honeyed steel, sharpening with purpose. His threats no longer stung, they only fortified my resolve. I could see the cracks forming in the foundation of their deceit. Lisa, once my confidant, now stood exposed as an accomplice to the betrayal, swelling tides of guilt washing over her features. "You don't understand what we've been through, Sarah," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "We didn't mean it like this." "No, Lisa, you wanted everything hidden under the guise of friendship. This isn't about misunderstanding. It's about the choices you both made that affected me and my children." I could feel the weight of clarity settle over me like an old friend, empowering me to speak my truth without hesitation. Behind all the fury swirling in the room was a thread of fear, the fear of the fallout, the fear of the unmasking. I was paving the way for facing the consequences of their actions, a reckoning they had desperately tried to avoid. "You both thought you could play me like a pawn, that I would stay silent while you wrote my story for me. You're wrong." Jack's resolve faltered. "Sarah, listen, Listen, I interrupted, my voice stronger than ever. "It's time for you to truly hear me. The fear you felt now is nothing compared to the pain you've inflicted. Understand that I'm done being the overlooked wife." As my voice crescendoed, I pushed the papers across the table and pointedly met their shocked gazes. "You can try to twist this however you want, but the truth is, like a boulder rolling downhill, it doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be real." Then something shifted within me. It was as if the very air had rippled as I laid down each piece of evidence, certain that they wouldn't evade accountability any longer. Jack shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Lisa as her anxiety blossomed into full-blown panic. "Sarah, please just give us some time to discuss this," Jack relented, the aggression bleeding from his voice, replaced by an urgency that hinted at desperation. "We can find a solution. Just don't take it to anyone else. Think of the kids. Enough. This isn't about the children anymore. You both have put me in a position where I must protect them from uncovering the truth you've hidden for so long." I felt invincible, my voice steady in the storm of their rising panic. "You think I care about saving your image? I realize now that your actions have consequences, and I will not stand for them anymore." Jack's pleading became increasingly frantic. "But what about the life we built together? You'll destroy it all." A wry smile played on my lips, bittersweet yet liberating. "You've already destroyed it by prioritizing your lies above loyalty. It's your actions that led us here." The silence that followed felt like a gaping void, each unspoken acknowledgement cascading between us. Their shared glances revealed realization, an understanding that the facade they constructed was crumbling piece by piece, slowly giving way to the guided hand of truth. I could see the weight of my words settling like a heavy blanket around Jack and Lisa. They were no longer the puppeteers, and I was no longer the fragile marionette swaying at the end of their strings. I took a breath, grounding myself in this moment of clarity, feeling an overwhelming sense of power wash over me. We can either resolve this like adults, facing the truth together, or you can continue to bury your heads in the sand. But know this: I will not remain complicit in your deception. My voice rang out, clear and unwavering. Jack and Lisa stood on the precipice of their downfall, and I felt the reins of my destiny tightening in my grip. The path before me was illuminated, and whatever lay ahead, I was ready to embrace it. They thought they had left me with nothing, but the truth was my greatest inheritance, and I would not allow it to go to waste. Should I continue with Section 7? New life? In the aftermath of that fateful confrontation, I felt an exhilarating transformation unfold within me. Each word exchanged in that room peeled back the layers of self-doubt that had enveloped me for too long. Now, liberated from deception, I could embark on a journey toward authenticity and healing. Weeks passed, and my focus shifted to my children. My motivation to create a new life brimming with honesty and love. To that end, I planned a weekend camping trip to a nearby park, hoping to share moments filled with joy and connection, free from the shadows of our troubled past. As we arrived at the campsite, the air buzzed with excitement. "Mom, can we roast marshmallows?" my youngest Ethan asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. "Of course. Let's make s'mores," I replied, grinning at their bubbling enthusiasm. Seeing them laugh and chase one another amidst nature's beauty rekindled a spark inside me, one that contrasted sharply with the desolation I'd felt so recently. As twilight descended, we gathered around the campfire. I spoke to my kids about resilience and the strength that comes from facing our truths. "Life will throw challenges at you, but remember, your voice is your strength," I said, recalling my grandmother's wisdom. Their eager faces reflected understanding. For the first time in a while, I felt like I was sculpting their future, instilling the self-worth that would guide them through life's uncertainties. Back home, I remained committed to my healing journey. Therapy helped me unravel the emotional scars left by betrayal, revealing a firm foundation upon which I could rebuild myself. I learned the value of owning my narrative, embracing every experience, painful or otherwise. Encouraged by my progress, I sought ways to give back. I volunteered with the local organizations that supported survivors of abuse, using my voice to highlight the importance of community support and resilience. Each time I connected with others, I felt an invincible energy surge through me, solidifying my newfound purpose. As the holidays approached, I focused on creating warm memories with my children. I transformed our home into a cozy sanctuary alive with decorations and laughter. During our Thanksgiving dinner, we shared our gratitude, and as Ethan proudly declared, "I'm thankful for family." I felt my heart swell with pride. "I'm grateful for honesty," I added, tears gathering in my eyes. "It's made us stronger." My children beamed back at me, and in that moment, I recognized my victory. With my past behind me, I embraced a future filled with possibilities. I ventured into writing, sharing my experiences through articles focused on empowerment and self-discovery. Each publication allowed me to connect with others and showcase the significance of speaking up. No longer was I defined by betrayal. I was molded instead by the strength that came from overcoming it. I instilled that sense of resilience in my children, shaping a life full of love, trust, and unwavering honesty. Each day became a step toward flourishing in this new life, where I was not just a survivor, but a warrior, armed with the knowledge that I could reclaim my destiny. They thought they had left me with nothing, but the truth was my greatest inheritance, illuminating the path ahead. I embraced this journey, ready to experience all it held with courage and hope, constantly empowering myself and my children to write our own remarkable stories. Thank you for being part of my journey. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing, and feel free to share your thoughts. Your support means everything as we embark on this adventure together. What would you have done? Drop your answer in the comments and follow this channel. If this story is touching your heart, please consider sending a super chat to support the channel. Are you enjoying this journey with me? Show your support by sending super stickers. Did you feel that sense of justice? Show your appreciation by clicking the super thanks button. Did you feel that sense of justice? Show your appreciation by clicking the super thanks button.